It was a beautiful, sunny summer morning, much like today, when I arrived here in Cincinnati in 2008. But not everything was so sunny when I got to the community of Madisonville. The congregation had struggled and suffered, had many difficulties for years. The school, which served the children of our neighborhoods for nearly 100 years, had to close their doors. And you'd have to imagine it now. But when you look and see this beautiful, high-tech, global pharmaceutical testing company, when I arrived here, it was something much different.
The violence was very bad, and the violence occurred because of criminal activities, selling drugs, using drugs, prostitution.
The reputation of Madisonville was someplace you didn't want to be.
The business that was directly behind us went out of business, moved out of the city. That became a vacant building, which became an eyesore, another place for drug deals to go on. We started to turn internally on ourselves, think about ourselves. Pastor Shave came in, he had an idea. He said, and I think he recognized our problems.
At St. Paul Lutheran Church in Madisonville, we needed a revitalization in the congregation. And that happened through patterning God's means of grace and His sacraments, His work for us to bring the forgiveness of sins, and through witness and mercy and life together.
St. Paul's congregation changed. And not going into a lot of history, but it went through some very difficult times internally as a congregation. Not only did the community go through struggles internally, the church went through struggles internally. And any time that a church is rocked at its foundation, it takes years for that to change.
Madisonville, St. Paul included, is a community that's built largely upon faith, because there was a long time there when all we had was faith. So I think in order for the community to be successful, the engagement of the churches and the outreach to invite us onto your campus, all those things have to work.
I feel like there's been a big change in the last 5 years, looking back, seeing how we can reach out, how even the city is starting to try to reach out to this neighborhood and work on a revitalization of this whole area.
The church was instrumental in eliminating a nuisance property in the neighborhood. This property was located across the street from a daycare center and next door to a school. It was known for serious drug problems and inhabitable living conditions.
Through the work of God's means of grace, we saw a resurrection of the congregation. We saw a new hope. We saw a new ministry. We saw a new life breathed into a community that once was hurting.
We worked together to come up with a solution, and that solution involved our company, our benefactor, procuring the property, purchasing the property, and tearing it down. It has made a huge difference to the community, not only for the church and for the retirement community next door, but the entirety of Madisonville.
It all begins with rebuilding the congregation, healing old wounds, reconciling through absolution, God's means of grace through word and sacrament, literally breathing life back into a suffering, dying congregation, to then reach out into a community to reach with the new life given to us in Christ.
I would really encourage all church leaders to get involved in their communities, with their neighborhood nonprofits. Through action, that's the best way to show your love.
Child care is needed in this community. So I drove down and I looked over to the left and I saw St. Paul Lutheran Church. And I saw the school, and the church welcomed me with open arms immediately. Well, the connection has been phenomenal, because it allows the children to have exposure to Christ where they wouldn't any other time.
The church has also been instrumental in the implementation of the Madisonville Aging in Place program, which is a program to help seniors stay in their homes by providing necessary home repairs to them.
Long-standing, we had the St. Paul Village, which was a retirement community, low income. It was a HUD-assisted program, but it was for low-income people. It needed a lot of work. We got people involved, and that whole facility has now been upgraded and renovated into an absolutely gorgeous facility that is now at full capacity.
We started looking toward the idea of having a deaconess that could help take care of the needs of the community, a human care person. Sarah Smith deciding to go back to school and get her deaconess degree and her call. and serve this community currently as our deaconess here at St. Paul, and that's been just a godsend.
Deaconess Sarah comes every Thursday and serves in our food pantry. When I say serves, that means that she shops one-on-one with clients, helps them choose items for their families.
The church brings Christ and his care. That means when somebody is hungry, they're fed. When somebody's naked, they're clothed. When somebody is in need of housing, they are assisted with their housing.
I needed help. I was still struggling. Even though I was out of my domestic violence situation, I was still dealing with not knowing how to survive, how to make it. I was still hurting and confused. And I've always seen this sign when I was across the street in my apartment, sitting out. But I never took time to go across the street and read it. The sign was illuminated and it was saying prayer every day. And it just lit me up because that's what I was missing. In my fears at night, in my pains, I was missing prayer. I was missing prayer. That's what St. Paul Church is all about, and the Lutheran Christians, about helping people, saving a family, one family at a time. And they have helped me in mine.
There, I think we see something that any pastor rejoices to see within the congregation is a mutual love and fellowship that's being shared. Having been fed at the altar, now they are feeding one another with good words and care for each other.
I wouldn't make it without you all.
But I'm not living in filth. I'm not living in deplorable housing. My faith is building up every day, more and more every day. But in the teachings, the short time of teachings that I learned with the catechism, I learned more about God than I had known in my whole life.
There's no doubt that when you think of the city, you often think of hopelessness, but don't ever give up hope. For as long as we have Christ, as long as we have his living and active word, there's always hope. Don't give up hope on your congregation. Don't give up hope on that lost soul in your community, for the world is written off. Don't give up hope that you can see a community changed and impacted by your church.
St. Paul Lutheran Church just really built me up. They gave me life. They gave me back a life. I was just a body, an empty body, but now I'm whole again.